GM, everyone. Good morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're tuning from. Welcome to this week's session of DappRadar Market Movers. My name is Pedro, the senior blockchain analyst here at DappRadar, and today I'm joined by Boris Ribo. Good to have you back, Boris. How are you doing?
Hello, Pedro. I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Cool. So today we will be discussing NFTs. The NFT market came back to life after a cool down period. And what were the main drivers that brought this trend back? We will discuss. But before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that, as always, we'll be recording the session, so you can listen to that later if you go to DappRadar's YouTube channel. And also, we will be giving away some popes. So you can go to DappRadar's general channel here on Discord and take a look at the instructions to claim your pope. So without further ado, let's begin. After a 2-month cool down period, the NFT market came back to life. We see trading volumes going down in February, which were accentuated after the war in Ukraine. But in April, the historica has changed. Boris, what were the main drivers? What are the biggest stories in April about around NFTs? What drove this change?
Well, one of the biggest drivers so far, about two biggest drivers, were the launch of Moonbirds, which we see the creation of, if I dare say so, another blue chip NFT collection, wherein it was made by the Proof Collective, a independent collective that started off as a podcast and made a grassroots movement around discussing NFTs and how the market and the community could be improved. And in the end, they ended up making their own NFT launch, which, in their own words, wanted to shake the system and enter a new paradigm of how things are done. And so far, the numbers speak for themselves. They have been one of the most sold collection for a better half of 2-3 weeks, and they are promising to, for the initial investors and for anybody who joins the collection to come, that this will be a long-term project, and specifically engaging with the community and making sure that buyers are incentivized to hold as opposed to sell and turn a quick profit on in the initial 2 weeks when the collections are usually at the most hypest.
Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive to see Moonbird's numbers. They launched, I think, on April 16, right?
Yep.
So in just 2 weeks, they surpassed very established projects like the Cool Cats and the Doodles, even the Doodles, as the 10th most traded collection in the NFT space, which is impressive. And you mentioned that this collection was launched by Proof. And you also worked on a report, and one of the new dApps report that we launched each month, and one of those was about Moonbirds. Can you elaborate what's the Proof Collective, why there was so demand for this project?
Well, yeah, as I mentioned previously, the Proof Collective started off by in various media and tech industry professionals who were in the market. And first of all, it started off as a podcast, sort of like a Joe Rogan thing, but for NFTs.
Yeah.
And they were essentially discussing much like we do here. They were discussing various developments. They had some very deep introspective analysis of how the positive points of NFTs and the negative points of NFTs, how things can be created, and they were not like, for lack of a better word, they weren't just nobodies. They unfortunately the name escapes me at this point, but the creator of the precursor to Reddit, who made Dig, which was one of the first.
Is it Carson? Um,
Actually, I wish we had Jamie like on Joe Rogan podcast so we could pull it up.
Okay, no worries about the name, but I
No,
mean, I just want to get the idea, because as it looks, it's another strongly community-driven NFT collection, right? One that is clearly targeting its community. It's also clearly targeting utility, because as far as I know, you can nest or stake your NFTs to earn passive income. A recipe that has been very successful with other projects like Cyberkongs. Um, so I'm just trying to understand these factors and see why people really try to be part of Moonbirds and Approved Collective.
oh,
But
sorry, yeah, Kevin Rose. Sorry, I knew it hit me
Kevin Rose,
eventually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
Kevin Rose.
but yeah, as you mentioned, they wanted to do things differently. One of the biggest things, and you hit the nail on the head, was the idea of nesting the NFT. So essentially, usually you're incentivized in many other collections. You get on the whitelist, you mint it, and then a couple of weeks later, you flip it for X amount of, usually ranging between 500 to 1000% of your initial minting price, and then you pocket the hefty sum and you do it all over again. In here, they wanted to flip the script and incentivize people to hold. And nesting is one of those mechanics where it's essentially, I'd call it soft staking, in the sense that you do freeze your NFT, but it still stays in your wallet. You're still allowed to show it. You're still allowed to display it, but it's essentially locked up. You're not allowed to transfer it or sell it or anything. And the
Mm.
longer it stays nested, quote unquote, the longer it accrues value. So depending on how long it stays, for example, nesting for 1 month, half a year, 2 years, whatnot, the nest then it gains experience, it increases, and the higher level your nest is, the higher rewards your NFT becomes entitled to. And also, it's highly dependent on what kind of NFT you got, what kind of characteristics it has. So, for example, as I watched their podcast, they said, what, some NFTs have got like special hoodies on. So we're trying to get in touch with various textile producers, maybe collaborate with a brand, and then those people who have that characteristics will get hoodies. Then people get different stickers. Some people get do rags. Some people get this, that, and the other. So it all depends on what kind of characteristics you have and for how long you held your NFT. And then the longer you hold, depending on, maybe in 2 years' time, if you're still part of the project, they'll have much more interesting things to come. But considering just the amount of money they already raised, plus the commissions they get from secondary market as part of royalties, I'm sure with the war chest of money that they have, they'll make it into something great. I mean, they already made Dig. The artist Justin Mizell, and I apologize if I mispronounced that,
Yeah.
but he worked with some of the among his clients were some of the great companies like Google, Disney, PayPal, whatnot. So they've got a very strong team, and I'm sure they'll be able to create something great out of that project.
One thing that also stands out to me that now you're mentioning Justin Metzel, uh, is the amount of let's say talent, the amount of talent that is coming from these big brands like Disney. Is coming to the Web3 space, and we are seeing it with a lot of NFT collections. Also, doodles are are designed by a very famous artist, Borny Toast, and we see like this, let's say, wave of talent coming into the Web3 space, which is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, talking about Moonbirds, 500 million in sales just in 2 weeks, 10th most traded collection, and it basically sparked life back into the NFT market. I think the most expensive Moonbird was sold for $1 million. Um, yeah, around 350 ETH, which is already. I wouldn't call it a blue chip project, to be very honest, because a blue chip project, I would like to see how it evolves over a more extended period of time. However, I really think they are going to be a leading NFT project over months to come. And so I could definitely pay attention to them, but I wouldn't classify them as blue chip yet. But it looks like. But yeah, and Moonbirds were not alone, of course. They were a big sparker into the Ethereum NFT market. But interestingly, we see another trend shaping up, and it is how NFTs are picking up in Solana, another smart contract blockchain, and that has been labeled by many people as the Ethereum killer. Um, but yeah, still very far from that. But the NFTs are really picking up on that network. Do you have any additional information on Solana NFTs, Boris?
Yeah, so far, as you previously mentioned, yeah, Solana is picking up to be the second biggest vehicle. They One of the reasons why they're picking up is the exposure they have over their integration with OpenSea, and naturally, then those collections can get listed. They have access to being bought, and of course, OpenSea is one of the more premier trading platforms. So for NFTs, so of course that's going to drive more transactions on the blockchain, and encourage other people to switch to that platform. However, OpenSea is sorry, not OpenSea. However, Solana is not without issues. They had a major outage on the 30th of April.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not everything is smooth sailing, but so far they're proving to be quite a major competitor for Ethereum. Um, One of the other biggest news when it came to NFTs, of course, everybody's talking about it. Even my Twitter is getting advertisements for the other side by Yuga Labs. Um,
Yeah. But before jumping into other side, let's dive a bit deeper into Solana, because there are a couple of collections that are really interesting, right?
yeah,
One
of
is
course.
one
Uh,
is OK
okay,
Bears.
barriers. Yeah.
Yeah. What can you tell us about OK Bears? Have you started researching more about them?
So far, the OK Bears have been they're not brand new collection. They've been on the market for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, they have been responsible for Solana increasing the overall volume in NFT trades to a staggering 295 million, which is a
Okay.
91% increase from the March's volume.
Nice. So basically, the NFT volume in Solana doubled from March, and yeah, and OK Bears is basically the spearhead of the Solana NFT movement, but it's not nothing new. Last year we saw collections like Solana Monkey Business, Ape Degenerate Academy, and the NFTs from a play to earn game that is going to be launching this year that it's called Orori. And basically, they started the movement in Solana last year, but in April's of course we see the biggest new probably was the integration of Solana into OpenSea, which is by far the leading marketplace in the entire industry. Just in perspective, OpenSea commands around 85% of the total NFT trading volume. So listing NFTs, Solana NFTs in OpenSea give the chain a lot of visibility to a mainstream, let's call it a mainstream audience of NFT degenerates that want to invest into other projects. So it's interesting that they are taking a look at Solana and talking about, well, yeah, an OK verse were among the top 10 most traded collections during the last 2 weeks of April, which is also quite interesting. And there is another interesting collection that is called D Gods. That also, again, is nothing new. I think D Gods launched around end of Feb, mid March. And the interesting part about DGOTs is that their metadata is can be changed. It's dynamic, and it caused a lot of interest in the NFT community. DGOTs are around, in terms of ETH. they are worth around 10 ETH, the floor price of DGOTS, and that the floor price of OKverse is around 3 ETH. So they are not, let's say, they're not easy, they're not cheap to buy in. They already are in a good privileged position. Um, but yeah, I mean, interesting that it's not only about Ethereum. We are seeing NFT activity in other blockchains. Of course, Axie Infinity is huge in its running sidechain, and Avalanche with Kravata has also its own perks and it's picking up volume. At least it was during March and April. But Solana is, as you said, one of I wouldn't say competitors, but other smart contract blockchains that can compare to Ethereum. So it's interesting to see NFT activity picking up there.
Yeah,
And yeah, and now that we have reviewed what were the two main drivers for the NFT market picking up again. Just as a reminder, this month the NFT market was again above 6 billion in trading volume. This didn't happen since January. So it looks like we are getting ahead out of the goods in terms of the bear market that was surrounding NFTs. But let's go into the news. Other side. This was one of the most, if not the most, hype NFT drop in the history of NFTs. Like the product that Yuga has built during throughout the entire year is it's impressive. What can you tell us about the other side drop, Boris?
well, uh, to be honest, I am kind of stumped. First of all, yes, it is one of the biggest drops in NFT history. It's gotten to the point where even mainstream media is talking about it. As I mentioned previously, sorry, kind of jumped the gun there because it's such a big thing. I even was getting notifications on my Twitter, just general advertisements that you get like, hey, the drop is coming. Try to get on the whitelist. Try to get
Yes.
this, that, and the other. And yeah, they made quite an impact. They in the first 24 hours, they accrued a volume of 660 million.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. It's impressive.
yeah, and the drop happened on the 30th of April, which single-handedly uh, increased the average gas price to the third largest in the history of Ethereum, down to around 500 ETH. Sorry, not 500 ETH, $500, which was at its height exceeding 2.5 ETH for some transactions. And naturally, a lot of people were upset about that. But on the other hand, the Ethereum miners were more than happy to accommodate those large prices.
Of course.
In a way, you could say that this drop single-handedly turned Ethereum into a deflationary product where essentially it was driving the prices down so hard with the amount of ETH that was burned during those days. By some estimates, it burned around 56,000 ETH, which is around 70% of all assets ever burned in the last 7 days since the mint happened.
I mean, the as a project, it was one of the most hyped and one of the most expected. However, that means that the drop was not the best, and yeah, leave a lot of people thinking about what happened. But if we go back, it was not your typical airdrop where you can whitelist or there is a public sale. To get access to this other side or other deeds, you need to first go through a KYC and a basically an anti-money laundering process where you are doxing yourself into the Yuga Labs database. So this was not the norm, what we are used to in Web3. So that was a bit odd. And then when they announced that only KYC wallets were going to be able to mint other deeds, we started also seeing a lot of activity in terms of I have a KYC wallet. Do you? I'm selling it. So we also see a lot of people trying to buy KYC wallets. We, as you said, like a lot of bombing and bombardment about advertisement of other deeds minting. There were a lot of scams. I mean, it was a big thing. But as we expected, there was going to be a gas wars. But as the news were going through this day, the Saturday was crazy. But we were seeing, we were pretty sure, like even 4 hours before the drop, that there was going to be opportunity for everybody that was KYC'd to get their hands on a other deeds plot. However, as 1 or 2 hours before the drop, there was an announcement. Well, not an announcement. There were dashboards in Dune that showed the progression of how many wallets were KYC'd and had enough ApeCoin to purchase the land. And boom, 1 hour before the drop, we we see the dashboard, and we sadly noticed that there was no room for anyone to purchase. So of course we see a gas wars, one of the worst gas wars in history, as you said, like 2.5 ETH just to send a transaction. If you were a normal people trying to, I don't know, to perform a swap on Uniswap, you would pay like $6,000. It was entirely crazy, like literally crazy. And of course, like if you look in perspective, the impact that ULF has had in the industry is really positive. They have shown us the way to how a good utility project looks like. Because if you minted a Bored Ape 1 year ago for zero point 0.0 Ethereum, you would now have assets worth more than 1 million. So that's what I call utility, and that's what I call an investment. They showed us the blueprint. They were doing things really well, but I mean, it is really fair to ask ourselves whether the Yuga Labs team could done things differently. Either I don't know, by whitelisting, or maybe another model that has been seen by other teams is they created Mint Pass, which are also NFTs, where you can redeem another NFT based on that. You burn your NFT and redeem another one. That could also work, but it was shameful to see the end result of the mint. And as you said, like the community was not happy about it. Even the Bored Ape community was not happy about it.
That's not only to mention the failed transactions that happened. I mean, by some estimates, people lost over 420 million in failed transactions. Well, to be fair, Yuga Labs said that they will reimburse people who burned the ETH for nothing. But still, I could imagine, when you're dropping a couple of thousand for a transaction and then just goes into literally vanishes, that it left a very bitter taste in a lot of people's mouth.
Yeah, of course. Because imagine you're a average NFT trader, so you need to spend well, let's say 2 ETH or 1 ETH, which is of course a lot just to spend in gas. But you recognize there is going to be a gas wars. You prepare yourself with, let's say, 1 ETH to send just to miners to approve your transaction. And surprise, you find that the average, at least the minimum that you should send for miners to approve your transaction, is 2.5 ETH. So of course it was a big bummer in the heads of average NFT traders, the most, but also people from the Bored Ape community was a bit mad, because this was supposed to be another entry point for Yuga Labs to expand their community into more people. And sadly, not many people were had a chance to be part of the community. It looks like it's the same Bored Apes that went over to Mint and so on. So yeah, that's the reason of why they're also mad. But I mean, also let's recognize how impressive Yuga Labs has grown as a brand in just 1 year. And yeah, let's see what happens next. We are going to see codas, which are the next stage of the board ecosystem, and let's see how it does work. But what is sure is that other side also is doing a big favor to the NFT market. I think it's already reaching 1 billion in sales, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, injecting a lot of money into the market, and another phenomenon that we saw is like the days prior to the mint, the value, the floor price of basically all of the collections was dropping drastically, and it's just a result of people trying to get liquidity to exchange for ApeCoin and be able to mint some lands. And now that the drop has ended, we are seeing how liquidity is flowing back into projects. I think Doodles has reached an all-time high. Azuki is also reaching an all-time high. So I mean, it has created a domino effect in the industry, which at least at this extent is being positive.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I would say if you look at where we are now, I mean, we are essentially uh, 23, around there, so 23% more than when we were last month. Month the growth from months over month,
Mhm.
which, as you mentioned, was 6.3 billion.
Yep.
And this is around the same levels as we were, if you remember, all time high, well, near all time high last August to September, where the market was really much at its peak. If you compare it to where we were literally a year ago, so April 2021, the market was basically just 500 million or so. So we were just uh, growing by leaps and bounds. And if we naturally, of course, if we include also the trading, although controversial topic, the trading that happening on LooksRare, then we're even breaching 15 million. Although again, some people consider that trading inorganic. If we exclude that, we're still way over above where we were a year ago. So if
Yep.
you were an investor and you would look at this market is definitely growing. And despite the turbulent times, we're still, as opposed to the general stock market, which is dipped by over 1/3 now, at least if you count the Nasdaq. Then this is quite a good hedge against that, and is performing very admirably.
No, definitely. NFTs have proven to be one of the. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's what it is. They've proven to be one of the safest assets class. Like they've outperformed the S&P 500. They have outperformed Nasdaq. I mean, they have outperformed basically anything like gold, cryptos, like almost anything. Of course, this is a project to project and never financial advice. But I mean, as an asset class, as you said, where were we like last year and where we are now? It's just outstanding for me. Like, yeah, seeing the growth. And the last point that I want to also highlight is how the NFT market has evolved, how the NFT market has matured, and I think we are just starting to see the tip of the point in terms of volume growth. Uh, we started May with the bank, of course, the big volumes that were driven by the other deed sale, but we are also seeing how projects are reaching their roadmaps. Well, their roadmaps milestones. I think something is big happening in Azuki in the next few days, if not today or tomorrow. We are going to see, well, Clonex and the Artifact team that are constantly giving more and more utility. Doodles is also announcing something. Mibits are going to have their 1 year anniversary, so Yuga Labs, you could expect that they will bring some utility as well. So you look back 1 year ago, you look where we are now, and you're seeing that utility is really a true in a space where these investors are being rewarded with another valuable set of NFTs. So it's a good thought, a good reflection to see how long we have been taking this road into where we are now. So I want to stop here before we continue and yeah, see if there is any question. I see one hand raised.
Yeah, we'll have smoking. Let's invite them to speak.
Hello,
Hello.
Hey, Smoking Oro, how you doing?
Are you all right? Go
my
on.
English is very, very bad.
What's bad?
My English.
No worries. Shoot your question, no problem.
All right. Thank you.
What's your question?
No, I no question. Sorry.
Oh,
Oh
okay,
no. Oh no, this is for questions.
no problem. Okay, cool.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, before we conclude, I just want to touch in other important points because we have reviewed NFTs and yeah, they are back on track. And the other deeds is also going to help, at least for May, revive this market that was on a cool down period. Let's see which other projects, interesting projects, are launching in May and June. We for sure will let you know. But I want to just review quickly what's happening in the DeFi space because apparently DeFi is not going well, but things are happening in the back end. DeFi has been the most slashed category because of the bearish scenario that we are seeing in cryptocurrencies. There is no way to sugarcoat. The TVL has shrunk around 10% from the previous month, but even though we are seeing a couple of trends, a couple of trends that are gaining more traction and are going to be vital for the DeFi space development. The first one is Terra. If you're familiar with Terra is an Cosmos-based blockchain that has one of the most popular stablecoins in the US dollar Terra, the UST. Actually, Terra is the only blockchain that has two different cryptos in the top 10 cryptocurrencies by market cap. The UST, the stablecoin, and the Terra, the Luna token, both are top 10 coins by market cap, which is unparalleled in the space. And they have basically last March they announced something big around Bitcoin. Can you elaborate more on that? Or do you want to talk about uh, Terra and its Bitcoin promise?
Yeah, they essentially decided to, like very much like sovereign governments, they decided to buy 10 billion worth of bitcoins in order to prop up their UST stablecoin. This has been by many a controversial move in the sense that if the price goes down, then it'll be very hard to keep something stable. I mean, the whole point of a reserve currency is that the reserve currency is supposed to be stable, and Bitcoin being one of the most stablest cryptocurrencies, it is still a cryptocurrency and thus not as stable as many other assets. So, although it has been positively received by the community, it's still a very risky move from a hedging perspective.
It is. It is. Let's take a pause in Terra and let's see what our friend Big Baldy has to ask us today. Big Baldy, how you doing?
Good. How you guys doing this morning?
Good, and
Wonderful.
you?
Good. I just didn't really understand some of the projects that you said, and I'm hoping that you guys drop links. I was Solana project was that called Hookah or Hookah Labs, or what kind of labs was it?
No, that was Yuga Labs. Those are the developers behind the latest. They've done a lot of things. They're mostly famous for Bored Apes Yacht Club, but they also recently
Okay,
bought.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And then what about the other one? Was Suki?
No,
No,
those
sorry.
are Ethereum collections. The Solana collection that we mentioned were OK bears, like literally OK bears,
And
and
Team Gods.
exactly, and D gods, DE gods. Um, I think
Okay.
we can link them in our discussion channel.
That would be great.
But yeah, if you go to will do. If you go to OpenSea and if you go to the stats page, their analytics front end, you can see that you can filter by blockchain. So if you go and filter by Solana, I'm pretty sure these are going to be the top two projects that you are going to see
Okay.
because they're the most traded. Yeah, and just to elaborate a bit more on OK Bears, uh, they're trying to build Bored Ape Yacht Club in Solana with bears instead of apes with bears. But it is a very community driven project. They have a very similar roadmap in terms of airdrops. Like if you own an OK Bear, you will receive another NFT in 6 months and probably a third one in 1 year. Of course, they haven't disclosed anything about land, but it's very expected as any project right now is launching land apparently. But yeah, this is the message. They're trying to build a strong community that it's been really visible on Twitter. The OK Bears community is really strong on Twitter. So yeah, that's basically what they are trying to do. And the about DGOTS, the second collection, basically another profile picture project, and the innovation about them is like as I said previously, their metadata is dynamic, so you can evolve your DGOT into a superior form, like Pokemon's basically. And yeah, that's about both collections. But I mean, there are a lot of other interesting collections in Solana. So it's good to see how it's not only about Ethereum, but we are seeing other blockchains rising up. Especially when you see in perspective what happened Saturday night up in the other deeds land sale, and you see Ethereum gas prices. You can wonder what would have happened if this was launched in Polygon. You would only pay, oh yeah, the gas exploded, everything is really really expensive. Yeah, you will need to pay $5. So I mean, it's positive in the end for the entire space to see more activity outside of Ethereum. Hope
Thank
that
you.
answered your question.
And beyond.
Perfect. Yeah, and yeah, our team will post some of these collections in the general channel after this meeting.
Yeah, I like to look into them while we're talking too, and I don't. That way, I ask smarter questions, I guess.
No,
No
you
worries.
you always come up with nice questions, Big Baldi, and the space wouldn't be the same without you.
All right. Well, I'll try to keep it lively then.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you guys.
No worries. Anyway, where were we? Last thing we mentioned was the
Yeah,
10,
risky move like Terra. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
10
there's another.
billion BTC.
Sorry. There's another question, Boris. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
Ryan Cardent.
Wait,
Mm,
did they withdraw or?
yeah, apparently, yeah. But
Oh
okay,
no,
yeah.
here we are. Hello.
Hello? Can you
Hey
hear me?
Ryan. Yeah.
Hey. Yeah, so I had a question, just reading some of the other articles about the drop and, some of the, I guess, conspiracy controversy around, what were their underlying intentions for the BA, the BC, other side NFTs. And somebody brought up the standard that I think Azuki is using for ERC 721A. So I just
Yeah.
wondered what your thoughts are, whether, BASIC could have used that standard to create a more efficient drop to save gas and, and speak to their, is there any sort of intention that they're trying to drive their new chain by looking at making Ethereum look bad? Thank you.
I mean, it's a tough question. Of course, we will never know the intentions of Yuga. And actually, there are a lot of questions because if you've been following the news, Yuga received a hefty investment around 2 months ago from Animoca brands, which are basically a big BC type of organization that is raising a lot of money and investing in a lot of Web3 projects, especially in games. So let's remember that other side, these other lands are going to be where the Bored Ape game is going to, the metaverse game of the Bored Apes is going to be hosted. So people are questioning whether Animoca brands were the ones directing this mint, because this was not regular stuff from Yuga. And yeah, as you mentioned, there are a couple of tweets that I read during the week about, let's say, smart contracts experts that were calling out why you didn't use another standard. I think ERC 1155 would have worked here, and also 721A, as you mentioned. And that simple simple change would have saved a lot of effort, a lot of lost money to people. But it's not only the standard, it's also the wording, the commands, the functions called by the smart contracts were not proper. It looks like either they didn't care about the gas wars, they didn't care to rock people, to slash people, or there was a mistake and misunderstanding between Yuga and Animoca. So we'll never get to know the truth of that. But what is really true is that Yuga, as you mentioned, is trying to build their own chain. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we have seen this formula actually last year when Sky Mavis developed and deployed Ronin, right? The Ethereum sidechain where Axie Infinity is right now hosted, and it's been a big success for Sky Mavis. So I don't know if, as you said, Yuga made this with the intention, but yeah, they have mentioned that they want to build their own chain because basically blaming Ethereum, which of course makes no much sense. But yeah, it is what it is.
Definitely. Thank you. Great answer.
Perfect. Thank you. Cool. So anything else, Boris, you want to add to the Yuga Labs drop, or you want to finish with Terra?
Personally, I think you said everything. I don't think we should assume malice where human error could be explained. So, as you mentioned, I'm not sure if it was intentional, but I don't think they're trying to tank Ethereum or give it a bad name. Granted, this was the first major project, and as they obviously put a lot of effort into it and advertisement. I think it's the first thing on this scale, so there was bound something to go wrong. Whether they could have done things differently, sure, but I guess they are pioneering in this field. So naturally, some things are going to go wrong, some things going to go right. Let this be a learning stepping stone for the rest of the community.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think you couldn't define it better. We cannot take assumption of malice here, but definitely, I mean, things could have
Gone
gone the
smoother.
yeah, yeah. Okay, but let's go back to Terra to finish and close with DeFi thoughts. A risky move by Terra, hedging their stablecoin with Bitcoin, definitely.
Absolutely. I've just lost my train of thought. Sorry, with all the questions.
Well, no worries. I can take it from here if you want. So quickly, just Terra announced last month 10 billion investment. It's not an investment, but Do Kwon, which is the founder of Terra, announced a program where they are going to buy 10 million during 1 or 2 years to back up the UST stablecoin.
Yeah, now it hit me. Sorry. Yeah, thank you, Rich. So yeah, besides that, yeah, Terra also teamed up with Avalanche, aiming to diversify the risk portfolio, and they bought 100 million worth of Avalanche tokens from the Avalanche Foundation to boost their stablecoin. But again, that reserve is still upcoming in the coming month. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm hearing some kind of echo effect.
no, but this move is actually good because at least they are diversifying the risk. If Bitcoin goes wrongly, they are at least a bit hedged against Bitcoin, a potential Bitcoin sudden drop with AVAX. Yeah, they partner with Avalanche, which is another rising ecosystem in terms of games and DeFi. So it's a win-win move for the blockchains, right? And we also see a rise of smaller blockchains in DeFi, less popular for now. One that caught the attention is Kronos. Kronos is crypto.com. If you are familiar with this brand, crypto.com is now all over the place, especially in sports. Even the former Staples Center in Los Angeles is now called crypto.com Center. And they have their own chain. It's a Cosmos, again, another Cosmos-based blockchain. It's called Kronos. And what happened in Kronos? Do you have numbers in Kronos, Boris?
Yeah, they hosted 100,000 and one unique active wallets, which is a 38% increase from April.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, they are growing. As far as the network is concerned, it relies on the sidechain's automated market maker to connect most of the transactions on the DApp.
It's called Finance, right?
Yeah.
Finance is like the most important, well, one of the most important DeFi dApps in Kronos. Yeah, so Kronos is gaining ground, and the last thing I'm going to say, and with this one I'm going to close, is Near. Near is another ecosystem that is gaining a lot of traction. Is getting a lot of attention. Its token has pumped a lot recently, and in terms of TVL, total value locked in their DeFi protocols, I think it's reaching 500 million. It's still very small compared to when you compare it to Ethereum, Terra, and these big blockchains. It's still small, but it's growing a lot. And the thing that I really like about Near is their bridge, the Rainbow Bridge. And
Yeah.
when we spoke 2 or 3 weeks ago about security in blockchain bridges, I mentioned the Near Rainbow Bridge and how it can become a key piece of making these cross-chain platforms that are really getting targeted by hackers and are really a weak link in all the blockchain ecosystem. Maybe Near Rainbow Bridge has the answer. Who knows? But let's see.
Yeah, we had the recent story, and now it jogged my brain that we had the story of a potential hacker who tried to exploit it and end up actually losing his own assets in the process, which is definitely a good sign for a beginning solution. And hopefully, we're not going to see any more attempted breaches. But then again, if there's a lock, there's always somebody who will try to pick it. Hopefully, the team that are behind it are always one step ahead, and this new development is going to reduce or hopefully when they completely eliminate the attacks and the assets lost during hacks and exploits.
Yeah, so the hacker got hacked, which is great. Okay, so yeah, time has run out, unfortunately. But I want to give a big thanks to all of you that are always active in our community. Thank you. And Boris, any final remarks?
It's a shame we didn't get to my favorite topic, which is blockchain games. They are, in my personal opinion, just as a wrapping thought, the biggest driver when it comes to on-chain activity. I mean, they make up more than half of all the chain usage. Particularly if we look at the biggest one being, well, naturally games, DeFi, and then NFTs. But however, today we gave inversely, we gave most attention to NFTs, a little bit to DeFi. Hopefully next week we'll come and talk more about games in the future.
We'll be back to talk about games for sure. Yeah, I mean, small window frame to talk about everything happening in the space, but our April DApp industry report has just launched, so you can also go and read what were the main events and trends that happening in the industry. So let's see if Oncos 12 has a last question.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
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 What question would you have?
Diam dulu.
I beg your pardon? Hello? Sorry?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Do you have a question?
You have a question, want to say hi or anything? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, I think we have some audio difficulties with our friend Oncos. But yeah, I mean, I want to again.
Lagi live ini.
What was? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, every one of you, again. Thank you, Boris, and please don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and social media channels on on YouTube, Discord, and Twitter. And also, don't forget to claim your Pope. And each week, DappRadar Market Movers, and on Wednesday, DappRadar meets, where we sit down with relevant crypto projects to ask questions and learn more about them. So that's all for today. Thanks so much. Have a lovely day and an amazing weekend. Bye bye.
All the best. See you.